The bullet tore through the night air, and everything changed. One moment, Ava Carter was just trying to get home after another soul-crushing shift. The next, she was kneeling in a frozen alley, hands pressed against a stranger's chest, feeling his blood soak through her scrubs. She should have run. Should have called 911 and disappeared. But something in his eyes, something dark and desperate, made her stay. That choice would unravel her entire life. If you want to know how a single moment can destroy everything you thought you knew about love, danger, and yourself, stay until the end. Like this video and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The fluorescent lights of Chicago Memorial's ER had a way of making everything look worse than it was, except tonight, when everything actually was worse. Ava Carter scrubbed blood off her hands for the third time in an hour, watching pink water spiral down the drain. 16 hours into her shift, and her feet had stopped hurting because they'd gone completely numb. "Ava, you're still here?" Marissa leaned against the doorframe, already in her coat, keys jingling. "Girl, go home." "I am, just finishing up." "You said that 2 hours ago." Marissa's voice softened. "Ryan's gonna be pissed again." Ava's jaw tightened. Ryan's always pissed about something. Then maybe stop giving him reasons. Ava peeled off her gloves without responding. Marissa meant well, but she didn't understand. Nobody did. How do you explain that going home felt less like rest and more like walking into another shift, one where the patient never got better, only more demanding? The January wind hit her face like a slap when she stepped outside. 2 in the morning, and Chicago was doing what it did best in winter, freezing everything solid. Ava pulled her coat tighter and headed for the train, but halfway there, she stopped. The thought of sitting on that train, watching her reflection in the dark window, knowing what waited for her at home. She couldn't do it. Not tonight. The shortcut through the warehouse district would save her 20 minutes. Everyone knew you didn't walk through there after dark, but Ava was too tired to care about everyone's warnings. Too tired to care about much of anything. The alley smelled like garbage and old snow. Her breath came out in white clouds. Somewhere ahead, a metal door clanged. Ava kept walking, keeping her eyes forward, her pace steady. Almost through. Almost. The gunshot cracked the air. Ava froze. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack a rib. Another shot. Then shouting, male voices, angry and overlapping. She should run. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around and run. Instead, she pressed herself against the brick wall and peered around the corner. 3 men stood in a circle around someone on the ground. 2 of them had guns. The third held a crowbar. The man on the ground wasn't moving. "Told you Lorenzo DeLuca wasn't untouchable," one of them said, spitting on the pavement. "Bleeds, just like everyone else." "We leaving him here?" "Boss said make it hurt. Can't hurt if he's already dead." The one with the crowbar laughed. "Give it a few minutes. Let him feel it." They walked away, disappearing into the shadows between buildings. Ava waited until she couldn't hear their footsteps anymore. Then she waited another 30 seconds, counting each one in her head. She should leave, call the police from somewhere safe. But her feet carried her forward. The man on the ground was maybe 35, dark hair, expensive suit now soaked with blood. He'd been shot twice, once in the shoulder, once in the side. His eyes were half open, unfocused. He was dying. Ava dropped to her knees beside him. "Can you hear me?" His eyes found hers. For a moment they sharpened, focused with an intensity that made her breath catch. Then he coughed, and blood speckled his lips. "Don't talk." Ava yanked off her scarf, pressing it against the wound in his side. "I'm a nurse. I'm going to help you, but I need you to stay still." She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. No signal. Of course not. Not here, not now. The man grabbed her wrist. His grip was weak but deliberate. "No, hospital. You've been shot twice. You need a hospital." "They'll finish it." His voice was rough, each word costing him. "They have people there." "I don't care about they. You'll die if I don't get you help." "Then I die." He let go of her wrist. "Go. Not your problem." Ava stared at him. At this stranger bleeding out in an alley telling her to leave him. She thought about the last patient she'd lost. A kid, 18, stabbed outside a party. She'd done everything right, and he died anyway. She'd gone home and cried in the shower while Ryan pounded on the door, annoyed that she was taking too long. She was so goddamn tired of death. "What's your name?" she asked. "Why?" "Because I'm not letting you die without knowing your name." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. "Lorenzo." "Okay, Lorenzo, here's what's going to happen. My apartment is 6 blocks from here. We're going there, I'm going to patch you up, and then you can make your own choices about hospitals. But you don't get to die in this alley. Understand? You don't know what you're... I know you're bleeding out. Everything else I'll figure out later." She slid her arm under his shoulders. "On 3. 1, 2. He grunted when she hauled him up, his weight nearly taking them both down. He was tall, solid, and definitely too heavy for her to carry. But Ava had spent 3 years lifting patients twice her size. She locked her knees and started walking. "You're insane," Lorenzo muttered. "Yeah, well, you're not the first person to tell me that." The 6 blocks felt like 60. Lorenzo drifted in and out, his breathing getting shallower. Ava kept talking to him, forcing him to respond, to stay conscious. She didn't let herself think about what she was doing. Bringing a shooting victim home. A stranger who admitted people were trying to kill him. Ryan was going to lose his mind. Her apartment building was a 3-story walk-up in a neighborhood that oscillated between up and coming and you might get mugged. Ava half-dragged Lorenzo up the stairs, praying Mrs. Chen wouldn't hear them and call the cops. The apartment was dark when she got the door open. Relief and dread hit her simultaneously. Ryan wasn't home, which meant she could work without him interfering, but also meant he was probably at Cassie's place again, and they'd have another fight about it later. Later. Everything was always later. "Couch?" Ava gasped, lowering Lorenzo onto the sagging cushions. She ran to the bathroom, grabbing her first aid kit and the supplies she'd quietly taken from the hospital over the past few months. Ryan called it stealing. Ava called it insurance. She cut away Lorenzo's shirt. The shoulder wound was clean, through and through, missed the major arteries. The one in his side was worse. The bullet was still in there, lodged somewhere near his ribs. "This is gonna hurt," she warned him. "Figured." Ava worked fast, hands steady despite the adrenaline screaming through her system. She'd done this before. Not gunshot wounds exactly, but trauma. Bodies in crisis. The mechanics of keeping someone alive when everything was trying to shut down. Lorenzo watched her the entire time. Even when she dug into his side with forceps, pulling out the bullet fragment, his eyes never left her face. "Why?" he asked when she was stitching him up. "Why what?" "Why help me?" Could have called the police. Could have kept walking. Ava tied off the suture. "I don't know. Maybe I'm tired of watching people die because nobody gives a damn." "Noble. Stupid, more like." She sat back, wiping sweat from her forehead. "You're going to need antibiotics. Real ones, not whatever I have here. And if you start running a fever, I'll handle it. You'll die of sepsis is what you'll do." Ava stood, every muscle in her body protesting. "There's water in the kitchen. Don't move around too much or you'll tear the stitches." She turned to clean up, but Lorenzo's voice stopped her. "What's your name?" "Ava." "Ava." He said it slowly, like he was testing how it felt. "Thank you." She didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded and headed to the bathroom to wash the blood off her hands for the 4th time that night. When she came back out, Lorenzo was asleep, or unconscious, she couldn't tell which. Ava covered him with a blanket and sank into the armchair across from him. She should probably check his vitals every hour, make sure he didn't code while she was sleeping. She should do a lot of things. Instead, she closed her eyes and let the exhaustion take her. The sound of the door opening jerked Ava awake. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Morning then. She'd slept longer than she'd meant to. Ryan stood in the doorway, still in yesterday's clothes, keys in his hand. His eyes went from her to the couch, where Lorenzo was still sleeping. "Ava." Ryan's voice was too calm, the kind of calm that came right before an explosion. "Who the hell is that?" Ava stood, positioning herself between Ryan and the couch. "He was hurt. I helped him." "You brought a stranger into our apartment? He needed help. So you call 911. You don't..." Ryan stepped closer, and Ava caught the smell of perfume. Not his cologne, someone else's. "Jesus Christ, is that blood on the couch? I'll clean it." "You'll..." Ryan stopped, laughing without humor. You're unbelievable. I stay out one night and you bring home some random guy. You didn't stay out one night, you stayed at Cassie's. Again. Ava kept her voice level. And he's not some random guy. He was dying in an alley. That's not your problem. Someone has to care, Ryan. No, someone has to be smart, which clearly isn't you. He moved toward the couch. I'm calling the cops. Lorenzo's eyes opened. He didn't move, didn't sit up, but something in his gaze made Ryan stop mid-step. I wouldn't, Lorenzo said quietly. Excuse me? The phone. I wouldn't. Ryan's face flushed red. I don't take orders in my own apartment. Ryan, please. Ava put a hand on his arm. Just give me a minute to explain. He shook her off. Explain what? That you've lost your mind? That you're putting both of us in danger for some... I saved his life. You don't even know him. I know he was dying, and nobody else was going to help. Ava's voice cracked. I know that sometimes the right thing doesn't make sense. I know that... You know nothing. Ryan grabbed his jacket from the chair. I'm going out. When I come back, he better be gone. And we're going to have a serious conversation about your priorities. The door slammed behind him. Ava stood there, hands shaking. From the couch, Lorenzo spoke. Boyfriend? Yeah. Seems great. Despite everything, Ava almost laughed. He's usually less like that. Sure he is. Lorenzo shifted, wincing. You should listen to him. I should go. You can barely move. I've managed worse. I don't doubt that. Ava picked up the bloody towels, needing something to do with her hands. But you're not going anywhere until I know you won't drop dead the second you stand up. Lorenzo was quiet for a moment. Then, you're not afraid of me. Should I be? Most people are. Ava met his eyes. I've worked in the ER for 5 years. I've seen gang members, abusers, addicts, people who've done terrible things. Fear doesn't help them heal, so no, I'm not afraid. I'm just trying to keep you alive. Something shifted in Lorenzo's expression, something Ava couldn't quite read. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time, really seeing her. What? She asked. Nothing, just no one's tried to keep me alive in a long time. Well, get used to it, at least until those stitches hold. Over the next 3 days, a strange routine developed. Ava would work her shifts at the hospital, come home to check on Lorenzo, and ignore Ryan's increasingly hostile silence. Lorenzo, for his part, was a terrible patient, refusing pain medication, insisting on moving around despite her warnings, and watching her with that same intense focus that made her skin prickle. On the 3rd night, Ava came home to find him standing by the window, looking down at the street. You should be resting, she said, setting down her bag. I've rested enough. The stitches are fine. You did good work. He turned to face her. I'll be leaving tomorrow. Ava should have felt relieved. Instead, something uncomfortably close to disappointment settled in her chest. Okay. I need to ask you something first. What? Why are you with him, the boyfriend? Ava stiffened. That's not your business. You're right, it's not. Lorenzo moved closer, not threatening, just present. But I've watched you for 3 days. Watched how you tense up every time you hear footsteps in the hall. How you check your phone every few minutes like you're waiting for an attack. How you make yourself smaller when he's around. You don't know anything about my relationship. I know what fear looks like, and I know what love isn't. His voice softened. You saved my life, Ava. That means something to me. So I'm going to say this once, and then I'll leave you alone. You deserve better than a man who makes you afraid in your own home. Ava's throat tightened. It's complicated. It's really not. You don't understand. I don't have anywhere else to go. I can't afford this place on my own. And my student loans, money problems can be solved. You know what can't? Lorenzo stepped back, giving her space. The years you waste on someone who doesn't see you, who doesn't value what you are. And what am I? Someone who runs into burning buildings while everyone else runs out. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Someone who saves strangers in alleys. Someone who fights for people who've already given up on themselves. Ava's chest ached. When was the last time someone had said something like that to her? When was the last time Ryan had looked at her like she was anything more than an inconvenience? Thank you, she whispered, for what you said. But I'm fine. Really. Lorenzo nodded, but she could see he didn't believe her. He pulled a card from his pocket and set it on the table. If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, call that number, day or night. I won't need to. Probably not. He smiled, and it transformed his face completely. But keep it anyway, just in case, Chet. The next morning, Lorenzo was gone. The couch was neatly made, the blanket folded. No note, no goodbye. Just his absence and the business card on the table. Ava picked up the card. Heavy stock, expensive. Just a phone number, no name. She should throw it away. Instead, she slipped it into her wallet. Ryan came home that evening with flowers and apologies. He'd been stressed, he said. Worried about her. She was too trusting, too naive. He just wanted to protect her. Ava accepted the flowers, listened to the apologies, let him pull her into a hug that felt more like a cage, and told herself she was fine. She was always fine. 2 weeks later, Ava was restocking supplies in the ER when Marissa grabbed her arm. You need to see this. See what? Just come on. Marissa dragged her to the break room where a small crowd had gathered around the TV. The news was on, showing footage of a building, a children's hospital on the south side. Fire broke out around 3 this afternoon, the reporter was saying. Firefighters are still working to evacuate all patients. There are reports of people trapped on the upper floors. Ava's blood went cold. That's St. Catherine's. That's where... She didn't finish. She just ran. By the time she got there, the scene was chaos. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars. Smoke pouring from the 3rd and 4th floors. Parents screaming for their children. Firefighters hauling equipment. Ava pushed through the crowd until a cop stopped her. Ma'am, you can't... I'm a nurse. Let me through. We have medical personnel. You have kids trapped in there. Let me help or get out of my way. The cop hesitated, then stepped aside. Ava ran toward the building. A firefighter tried to stop her, but she ducked around him, heading for the side entrance she knew was usually unlocked. The smoke hit her immediately, thick, black, choking. She pulled her shirt over her mouth and kept going. 3rd floor, the pediatric wing. That's where the kids would be. The stairwell was clear, but the hallway was a nightmare. Smoke so thick she could barely see 2 feet ahead. Alarms screaming, the heat intense enough to make her skin prickle. Hello? She shouted. Anyone here? A small voice answered. Help, please! Ava followed the sound to a room at the end of the hall. The door was jammed, smoke seeping underneath. She threw her weight against it once, twice. On the 3rd try, it gave. 3 kids inside, huddled together. The oldest couldn't have been more than 8. Come on, Ava said, reaching for them. We're getting out of here. She got the 2 smaller ones in her arms, told the oldest to hold on to her shirt. Moving back down the hallway was harder. The smoke worse. The heat building. Ava's lungs burned, her eyes streamed. She couldn't see, could barely breathe, but she kept moving. Someone grabbed her shoulder. A firefighter, his mask making him look alien in the smoke. Give them to me, he shouted. Ava handed over the children, then turned back. Where are you going? There might be more. Ma'am, you need to... But Ava was already gone, back into the smoke. She found 2 more kids, these ones unconscious from smoke inhalation. She dragged them toward the stairs, her vision tunneling, her chest screaming for air. Almost there. Almost... Her foot hit something, and she went down hard. Pain exploded through her knee. The kid slipped from her grip. No, 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 no. Hands lifted her, strong hands, familiar somehow. A voice in her ear, rough and urgent. I've got them. Can you walk? She looked up through the smoke and saw him. Lorenzo. He had both kids tucked against his chest, his shirt wrapped around their faces. Blood soaked through his side. He'd torn his stitches. What are you... Walk. Now. They stumbled down the stairs together, burst out into the cold air. Firefighters grabbed the kids. Paramedics surrounded them. Someone put an oxygen mask on Ava's face. She looked around for Lorenzo, but he was already gone. Like a ghost. Like he'd never been there at all. The news called her a hero. The hospital wanted to give her an award. The parents of the children cried and hugged her and said she was an angel. Ava didn't feel like a hero or an angel. She felt like someone who'd done what needed to be done. Ryan picked her up from the hospital after they'd checked her for smoke inhalation. He was quiet on the drive home, his jaw tight. "You could have died," he finally said. "But I didn't." "You could have, for what? For kids you don't even know?" Ava looked at him. Really looked at him. "They're children, Ryan." "They're not your children." "Does that matter?" "Yes. You put yourself in danger for strangers. Again, first that guy in the alley. Now this." He pulled up to a red light, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "When are you going to learn that you can't save everyone?" "I'm not trying to save everyone. I'm just trying to help. By getting yourself killed, by doing what's right." "What's right?" Ryan repeated, laughing bitterly. "You know what's right? Thinking about your own life for once. About our future. About what future?" The words came out before Ava could stop them. "You spend half your time at Cassie's apartment. You criticize everything I do. You make me feel small and stupid, and I'm trying to protect you." "I don't need protection. I need a partner. Someone who sees me as an equal, not a child." Ryan's face went red. "You want equal? Fine. The rent's due in 3 days. Your half is $900. You got it?" Ava's stomach dropped. "You know I don't. The hospital cut my hours. Not my problem. You want to be equal? Be equal. Otherwise, maybe show a little gratitude for the fact that I've been carrying you." They didn't speak the rest of the drive home. That night, Ava lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Ryan snored beside her. Her knee throbbed where she'd hit it. Her lungs still felt tight. But what hurt most was the growing certainty that Lorenzo had been right. This wasn't love. She didn't know what it was, but it wasn't love. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You okay?" Ava's heart jumped. She glanced at Ryan, still asleep, then typed back. "How did you get my number?" "I'm resourceful." "Are you okay?" "Fine." "You tore your stitches, worth it. You shouldn't have been there. Neither should you. But here we are." Ava smiled despite herself. She shouldn't be texting a stranger at 2 a.m, shouldn't be feeling this flutter in her chest. But she did. "Thank you," she typed. "For what?" "For coming back. For helping." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "I told you. You saved my life. That means something to me. It was just a few stitches. It was more than that. You know it was." Ava stared at those words for a long time. Then she typed back, "Good night, Lorenzo." "Good night, Ava." She set the phone down, her chest tight with something she couldn't name. Beside her, Ryan shifted in his sleep, his arm heavy across her waist. Outside, the city hummed, sirens and traffic, and a million people living their separate lives. And somewhere in that vast darkness, Lorenzo was out there, thinking about her, the way she was thinking about him. Ava closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but she kept seeing his face in the smoke, kept hearing his voice. "You deserve better." Maybe she did. Maybe it was time to start believing that. The flowers arrived 3 days later, white roses, 2 dozen, delivered to the hospital with a card that read simply, "You were right, they were worth saving. L." Ava tucked the card into her scrub pocket before anyone could see it. She told herself it didn't mean anything, just gratitude, nothing more. But her fingers kept finding the card throughout her shift, tracing the edge like a talisman. Marissa noticed, of course. She noticed everything. "Who's L?" she asked during lunch break, nodding at the roses Ava had stashed in her locker. "No one, just a patient." Uh-huh. Patients usually send carnations, maybe a fruit basket, not 2 dozen white roses. Marissa leaned closer. "This the guy from your apartment? The one Ryan freaked out about?" "Drop it, Mar. I'm just saying, if mystery men are sending you flowers..." "They're not mystery men. It's nothing." Ava slammed her locker shut harder than she meant to. "Sorry, I'm just tired." "You're always tired." Marissa's voice softened. "When's the last time you actually rested? Like really rested, not just passed out from exhaustion?" Ava couldn't remember. Every day bled into the next. Work, home, Ryan's moods, bills she couldn't pay. An apartment that felt more like a cell. When had her life become so small? Her phone buzzed. "Ryan." "Where are you?" "Work." "Where else?" "Don't be smart. Home by 7. We need to talk." Ava's stomach knotted. Nothing good ever came from "we need to talk." She got home at 7:15 and Ryan was pacing the living room, phone in hand. You're late. Shift ran over. What did you need to talk about? Ryan stopped pacing. His face was strange, excited and nervous at once. I have news. Big news. Okay? I got the promotion. Regional manager. It's official. Ava forced a smile. That's great, Ryan. Congratulations. It comes with a relocation package. They want me in Seattle. The words hung in the air like smoke. Seattle, Ava repeated. Fresh start, new city, better money. Ryan moved closer, grabbing her hands. This is what we've been waiting for, Ava, a chance to really build something. I have a job here. You can get another nursing job anywhere. They're always hiring. He squeezed her hands. Come on, you've been saying you hate this city. This is our way out. Had she said that? Maybe. In passing, during some fight she didn't fully remember. But Seattle? Leaving everything? I need time to think about it. Ryan's face hardened. Time to think? I'm offering you a better life, and you need time to think? It's a big decision. No, it's not. It's simple. You either want to be with me or you don't. He dropped her hands. But I'm going to Seattle, with or without you. So you need to decide what matters more, this dead-end life you're clinging to, or our future. He left her standing there, heading to the bedroom and closing the door with a final click. Ava sank onto the couch, the same couch where Lorenzo had bled, where she'd saved his life, where everything had started to shift. She pulled out her phone, staring at the unknown number. She shouldn't text him, it was crossing a line, but her fingers moved anyway. You ever feel trapped? The response came within seconds. Every day of my life until I decided to stop being. How did you stop? I burned everything down and built something new from the ashes. That easy? No. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Ava closed her eyes. What would burning everything down even look like for her? Leaving Ryan, finding her own place, admitting that the last 3 years had been a mistake. He wants me to move to Seattle. Do you want to go? I don't know. Yes, you do. Ava's throat tightened. He was right. She knew exactly what she wanted. She just didn't have the courage to say it out loud. Can I see you? She typed before she could stop herself. The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. When? Tomorrow night, after my shift. Tell me where. She sent him the address of a coffee shop near the hospital. Neutral ground, public, safe. Then she deleted the conversation and tried to pretend her hands weren't shaking. Guts. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Ava arrived. Lorenzo sat in the back corner, wearing a dark shirt and looking entirely too comfortable in the dim lighting. He stood when he saw her. You came, he said. I said I would. People say a lot of things. They ordered coffee neither of them wanted and sat across from each other in a booth that smelled like old upholstery and burnt espresso. How are the stitches? Ava asked, needing to fill the silence. Healed. You did good work. Lorenzo studied her face. You look tired. I'm always tired. That's not what I meant. Ava wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. He wants me to move to Seattle. Says it's a fresh start. Our future? She laughed without humor. I don't even know if I have a future with him, but I don't know how to leave either. Does that make sense? More than you know. You said you burned everything down. How did you know it was worth it? Lorenzo was quiet for a moment. I didn't. I just knew that staying would kill me slower than leaving. Sometimes that's the only choice you get. Fast death or slow one. That's bleak. That's life. He leaned forward. What do you want, Ava? Not what he wants. Not what's practical. What do you want? No one had asked her that in years. Maybe ever. I want to wake up and not feel like I'm drowning, she said quietly. I want to matter to someone. Really matter. Not just be convenient. I want... She stopped, her voice breaking. What? I want to feel alive just once, before I'm too old or too tired or too beaten down to remember what that even means. Lorenzo reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. The touch was light, almost nothing, but it sent electricity straight through her. You're already alive, he said. You just need to stop apologizing for it. Ava pulled her hand back, but the warmth lingered. I should go. I shouldn't have come. Why not? Because you're dangerous. I know. And I'm with someone else. Someone who doesn't deserve you. You don't know that. I know what I see. Lorenzo stood when she did. You saved my life. That creates a debt. And I always pay my debts. I don't want anything from you. I know. That's what makes you different. He handed her something, a different card this time, heavier. There's a charity gala next week, Children's Hospital fundraiser. I have an extra ticket. I can't. You can. It's just a gala. Networking. You might even enjoy it. His smile was slight. Besides, you've already seen me at my worst. Might as well see me in a tux. Against her better judgment, Ava took the card. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. She left the coffee shop feeling lighter and more terrified than she had in months. Tea. Ryan proposed 3 days later. Ava was washing dishes when he came up behind her, turning her around to reveal a ring box. Marry me, he said. Come to Seattle. Be my wife. Let's do this right. The ring was beautiful, a solitaire diamond, probably more than he could afford. Ava stared at it, her mind blank. Ava? This is sudden. We've been together 3 years. That's not sudden. Ryan took the ring out, reaching for her hand. I love you. I want to build a life with you. Say yes. She should say yes. This was what she was supposed to want. Commitment, stability, someone who loved her enough to propose. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, Can I have some time? Ryan's face fell. Time for what? To think. To process. This is big, Ryan. It's a yes or no question. And I need time to answer it. Ava stepped back. Please. He stared at her for a long moment, then snapped the ring box shut. You know what? Take all the time you need, but don't expect me to wait forever. He left the apartment, and Ava stood alone in the kitchen with wet hands and a heart that felt like a bruise. She went to the gala. She told herself it was networking, professional development, a chance to see the hospital wing her actions had helped save. She told herself it had nothing to do with Lorenzo. The venue was stunning, a historic hotel downtown with chandeliers and marble floors and women in gowns that cost more than Ava's car. She felt immediately out of place in her one good dress, the one she'd worn to her college graduation. Then she saw him. Lorenzo stood near the bar, surrounded by people but somehow separate from them. He wore a tuxedo like he'd been born in it, his dark hair swept back, the wound in his side completely hidden. He looked powerful, untouchable. Then his eyes found hers across the room, and everything else disappeared. He excused himself from his conversation and crossed to her in long strides. You came, he said. You sound surprised. I am. I thought you might change your mind. I almost did. Ava accepted the champagne he handed her. This is a lot. Too much? Maybe. She took a sip. Who are all these people? Donors, politicians, people with money and guilt. Lorenzo's mouth quirked. The kind who write checks to feel better about the world they're destroying. Cynical. Realistic. He offered his arm. Come on. I'll introduce you to the ones worth knowing. The next hour passed in a blur of names and handshakes and conversations Ava barely tracked. Lorenzo stayed close, his presence solid and grounding. People looked at her differently when she was with him, with interest, with respect, with wariness. They're afraid of you, Ava murmured during a break in conversations. Most people are. Should I be? Lorenzo looked at her, his expression unreadable. I don't know. Should you? Before she could answer, a woman's voice cut through. Lorenzo De Luca, I heard you were back among the living. Ava turned to see an older woman in emerald silk, her gray hair swept into a severe bun. She had the kind of face that was used to being obeyed. Mrs. Castellano, Lorenzo said coolly. Always a pleasure. I doubt that. The woman's eyes shifted to Ava. And who is this? Ava Carter. She's a nurse at Chicago Memorial. How civic-minded of you, Lorenzo. Mrs. Castellano's smile didn't reach her eyes. Tell me, Miss Carter, do you often attend events like this? First time, Ava said. I see. Well, do enjoy yourself. These gatherings can be quite educational for those new to our circles. She patted Ava's arm with condescension dripping from every word. Just stay close to Lorenzo. He'll keep you from embarrassing yourself. She swept away, leaving Ava's face burning. Ignore her, Lorenzo said quietly. She's bitter because I refused to marry her daughter. Is everyone in your world like that? Most of them. He studied her face. You want to leave? Yes. No, I don't know. Ava drained her champagne. I want to not feel like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's life. You're not playing dress-up. You're the most real person in this room. That's not a compliment in this crowd. Lorenzo smiled, a real one this time. Come on, I want to show you something. He led her away from the ballroom, down a corridor and up a service stairway that ended at a rooftop terrace. The city sprawled below them, lights stretching to the horizon. Better? Lorenzo asked. Much. Ava leaned against the railing, breathing in cold air. How did you know about this place? I own the building. She looked at him. You own this building. Among others. What exactly do you do, Lorenzo? Import, export, real estate, investments. He moved to stand beside her. Legal and otherwise. Otherwise. I'm not going to lie to you, Ava. My business isn't always clean. But it's mine, and I built it from nothing. He turned to face her. Does that scare you? It should. It absolutely should. I don't know what scares me anymore, Ava admitted. A month ago, my biggest fear was disappointing my boyfriend. Now I'm standing on a rooftop with a man I barely know, and I feel more myself than I have in years. Maybe that should tell you something. Or maybe I'm just losing my mind. Lorenzo laughed, a low, genuine sound. If you are, at least you're doing it spectacularly. They stood in silence for a moment, the city humming below. He proposed, Ava said suddenly. Ryan, 3 days ago. Lorenzo went very still. What did you say? I asked for time to think. And? Have you thought? I can't stop thinking. Ava wrapped her arms around herself. I should say yes. He's offering me security, a future, all the things I'm supposed to want. But every time I imagine saying yes, I feel like I'm suffocating. Then don't say yes. It's not that simple. It really is. Lorenzo moved closer. You're afraid of being alone, of not having someone to rely on. I understand that. But being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel empty. Is that what you are? Alone? By choice. His voice softened. I've had relationships. People who wanted what I could give them. Money, power, protection. But no one who just wanted me until... He stopped. Until what? Ava whispered. Lorenzo looked at her and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. Until you, he said. Until a woman I barely knew saved my life for no reason except that it was the right thing to do. Who risked everything because she couldn't walk away from someone in pain. Who looked at me like I was human, not a monster or a meal ticket or a stepping stone. Lorenzo, I'm not asking you for anything, he continued. I just need you to know that you're seen, that you matter, that what you did, for me, for those kids, it means something. Ava's eyes burned. When was the last time someone had looked at her like this? Like she was worth something beyond what she could provide? I need to go, she managed. I can't, I know. Lorenzo stepped back, giving her space. I'll get you a car. I can take the train. Humor me. The ride home was silent, Ava's mind spinning. She kept replaying his words, the look in his eyes, the way he'd said, until you like it, changed everything. Ryan was waiting when she got home. Where were you? He demanded. A hospital fundraiser. Dressed like that? For a fundraiser? His eyes narrowed. Who were you with? Colleagues, donors, people from work? You're lying. I'm not. I can see it on your face. Ryan grabbed her arm. Who is he, Ava? The guy from the apartment? The one sending you flowers? Let go of me. Not until you tell me the truth. The truth? Ava yanked her arm free. The truth is, I went to a gala because I was invited. I networked. I tried to feel like more than just someone's convenient girlfriend. That's the truth. Convenient? Ryan's laugh was ugly. I've supported you for 3 years, carried you when you couldn't make rent, put up with your hero complex and your exhaustion and your complete inability to put us first. And I'm convenient? You've held those things over my head every chance you get. Ava's voice rose. Every fight, every disagreement, you remind me how much you've done, how much I owe you. Like love is a debt I have to repay. Because it is. Relationships are give and take, and you only know how to take. I take? Ava couldn't believe what she was hearing. I work 60-hour weeks. I clean this apartment. I cook your meals and do your laundry and listen to you complain about work while you can't even remember the last time you asked about my day. But I'm the one taking? Ryan's face went red. If you're so unhappy, why are you still here? It was the question Ava had been asking herself for months. And suddenly, standing in this apartment that had never felt like home, looking at this man who'd proposed to her out of obligation rather than love, she knew the answer. I don't know, she said quietly, but I'm not anymore. What? I'm done, Ryan. I can't do this anymore. You're breaking up with me? After I proposed? After I offered you everything? You offered me Seattle, a new city where I'd be even more dependent on you, where I'd have no friends, no support, nothing but you holding it over my head for the rest of our lives. Ava's voice steadied. That's not everything. That's a cage with better lighting. Ryan stared at her, his mouth working. Then he grabbed his keys. Fine. You want to throw everything away? Do it. But don't come crawling back when you realize what you gave up. He headed for the door. You have until the end of the month to move out. After that, I'm changing the locks. The door slammed. Ava stood in the sudden silence, her heart hammering, adrenaline making her shake. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. And she had no idea what came next. Ava spent the next week couch surfing at Marissa's and picking up extra shifts to save money for a deposit on her own place. She told herself she felt liberated, free. Mostly, she felt terrified. She was walking to the train after a double shift when a car pulled up beside her. Black sedan, tinted windows. The back door opened. Get in, Lorenzo's voice came from inside. Ava should keep walking, should tell him to leave her alone. Instead, she got in. Lorenzo looked at her in the dim interior light. You left him. How did you? I've been keeping an eye on you, making sure you're safe. That's creepy. That's honest. He handed her an envelope. Open it. Inside was a key and an address. What is this? An apartment. 2 bedrooms, safe neighborhood, rent paid for 6 months. Ava's stomach dropped. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. Lorenzo, this is too much. I barely know you. You saved my life. I'm returning the favor. He met her eyes. This isn't a transaction, Ava. I'm not asking for anything in return. I just can't stand the thought of you struggling when I can help. People will talk. They'll assume. Let them assume. The only opinions that matter are yours and mine. Lorenzo leaned back. Take the apartment. Get on your feet. Figure out what you want your life to look like. And if you decide you never want to see me again after that, I'll respect it. Ava looked at the key in her hand. Pride said to refuse. Fear said to run. But exhaustion, bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion, said to accept. 6 months, she said. Then I pay my own rent. Deal. Lorenzo had the driver take her to the address. The apartment was beautiful. Hardwood floors, natural light, a kitchen that actually had counter space. It was more than Ava had ever let herself hope for. And it came from a man she'd known for less than a month. A man who made her feel things she had no business feeling. A man who was dangerous in every possible way. Ava sat on the floor of her new empty living room and pulled out her phone. Lorenzo's number was at the top of her recent calls. Thank you, she typed. For this, for everything. You would have done the same for me. I don't know. Would I? Yes. Because that's who you are. Ava stared at those words, her chest tight. Who are you, Lorenzo? Someone who sees you, really sees you. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. Ava set the phone down and lay back on the floor, staring at the ceiling of her new apartment. She'd walked away from Ryan, from 3 years of her life, from the safety of the known. And she'd walked towards something she couldn't name, something that felt like danger and possibility and the first real breath she'd taken in years. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos. But inside this apartment, this gift from a stranger who wasn't a stranger anymore, Ava felt something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten what it was. Hope. The first morning in her new apartment, Ava woke to silence. No Ryan snoring beside her, no passive-aggressive notes about dishes left in the sink, no tension thick enough to choke on. Just quiet. She made coffee in a kitchen that was hers, sat by a window that overlooked a tree-lined street, and let herself breathe. Then her phone rang. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. She almost didn't answer, but 3 years of conditioning was hard to break. Hello? You took the couch. Ryan's voice was tight. The one from the living room. That was mine. It was ours. And it was falling apart. I don't care. You don't get to just take things because you decided to throw a tantrum. Ava closed her eyes. I'm not doing this with you. You owe me, Ava. 3 years of... She hung up, blocked the number, stared at her phone like it might explode. It rang again immediately. Unknown number. Ryan, I swear, not Ryan. Lorenzo's voice was calm, steady. You okay? Ava's anger deflated. How did you know? Lucky guess. What did he want? The couch. He called about a couch that's literally held together with duct tape. Want me to have someone deliver a new one? No, I want... Ava stopped. What did she want? I want to stop feeling like I owe everyone something, like every good thing in my life comes with a bill I can't afford. You don't owe me anything, Lorenzo said quietly. I need you to know that. Everyone says that. Then they hold it over you later. I'm not everyone. Ava wanted to believe him. The scary part was how much she wanted to. I have to get ready for work, she said. Okay, but Ava? Yeah? The couch was garbage. You did him a favor. She laughed despite herself. After they hung up, she sat staring at her coffee, trying to figure out when Lorenzo had become the person she wanted to talk to. When his voice had started to feel like home. Work became Ava's anchor. At the hospital, she knew who she was. Competent, needed, good at what she did. The rest of her life might be chaos. But here, she could save people. 2 weeks into living alone, a patient came in with a stab wound to the abdomen. Gang violence, the cops said. The kid was maybe 19, scared out of his mind, asking for his mom. Ava held his hand while the doctors worked. You're going to be okay. Just keep breathing. I didn't do nothing, the kid gasped. I was just there. Wrong place, wrong... I know. Just breathe. He made it through surgery. Ava checked on him the next day, bringing extra pudding from the cafeteria. You're that nurse, he said. From the fire. I seen you on the news. Just doing my job. Nah, you went back in. For kids you didn't even know. He picked at his blanket. My sister was in that hospital, in the burn unit. You got her out. Ava's chest tightened. What's your sister's name? Maya, she's 8. Got a skin graft last week. His eyes filled. She's gonna be okay because of you. I'm glad she's okay. I'm telling you this because... He stopped, struggling. People like us, we don't expect people like you to care. We're used to being invisible. But you saw her. You saved her. He looked at Ava directly. Thank you. Ava left his room with tears burning her eyes. She made it to the supply closet before they fell. This was why she did it. Not for recognition or praise, but for moments like this. For knowing that somewhere, a little girl named Maya got to grow up because Ava hadn't turned away. Her phone buzzed. Lorenzo. Dinner tonight? My treat. I can buy my own dinner. I know, but I'm asking anyway. Ava hesitated. She'd been avoiding seeing him, afraid of what it might mean. Afraid of how much she already looked forward to his texts, his voice, the way he made her feel seen. Where? Surprise? I'll pick you up at 7. The restaurant was small and tucked away, the kind of place locals knew about but tourists never found. Lorenzo was already there when Ava arrived, wearing jeans and a dark sweater that made him look less like a dangerous businessman and more like someone she might actually have a chance with. This doesn't look like your usual scene, Ava said, sliding into the booth across from him. It's not, but I thought you might be tired of places where people stare. He was right. The gala had been beautiful but exhausting, all those eyes judging whether she belonged. How was work? Lorenzo asked after they ordered. Long. Good. A patient thanked me today. His sister was one of the kids from the fire. How did that feel? Like maybe I'm not completely screwing up my life. Ava took a sip of water. What about you? What do you do all day when you're not checking on broke nurses? Lorenzo smiled. Meetings. Negotiations. Putting out fires, metaphorically speaking. And the non-metaphorical kind? The men who shot you. Are they still a problem? His expression shuddered. They're handled. Handled how? Do you really want to know? Ava thought about it. Did she? Part of her wanted to believe Lorenzo was just a businessman with rough edges. But the way people looked at him, the way he moved through the world, there was danger there, real and undeniable. No, she admitted. I don't think I do. Smart. Lorenzo leaned back. I won't lie to you, Ava. My business isn't always clean. I've done things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who probably deserved it, and some who didn't. I'm not asking you to accept that or look past it. I just need you to know who you're sitting across from. And who is that? Someone trying to be better. Not good. I don't know if I'll ever be good, but better than I was. Ava studied his face. Why? Why what? Why try to be better? You have money, power, people afraid of you. What's the motivation? Lorenzo was quiet for a long moment. You remember what you said on the rooftop about wanting to feel alive? Yeah, I spent 10 years feeling nothing, building an empire, eliminating threats, doing whatever it took to survive. And I was empty. Completely empty. He met her eyes. Then a woman I didn't know saved my life for no reason except it was right. And for the first time in a decade, I felt something. Ava's heart hammered. Lorenzo, I'm not asking you for anything, he said quickly. I just need you to understand why I can't walk away, why I keep showing up. You reminded me what it feels like to be human. The food arrived, giving Ava time to collect herself. They ate in silence for a few minutes, the weight of his confession settling between them. I'm scared, Ava said finally. Of me? Of this. Whatever this is. She set down her fork. I just got out of something that made me miserable. I don't know how to do this, whatever we're doing, without losing myself again. Then don't do it the same way. Set boundaries. Tell me when I'm pushing too hard. Walk away if you need to. Lorenzo's voice was steady. I'd rather have you in my life on your terms than not at all. What if my terms are that we're just friends? Then we're friends. You'd be okay with that? No, but I'd respect it. He smiled slightly. I'm patient, Ava. I can wait. For what? For you to trust that I'm not going anywhere. That this isn't about control or possession or any of the things you're used to. It's just... He stopped, searching for words. It's just you and me, figuring it out. Ava wanted to believe him so badly, it hurt. 3 days later, Ryan showed up at the hospital. Ava was at the nurse's station when she saw him, still in his work clothes, looking rumpled and desperate. We need to talk, he said. Ryan, you can't be here. 5 minutes, please. Against her better judgment, Ava led him to an empty consultation room. What do you want? Ryan pulled out the ring box. I want you to reconsider. I've been thinking about what you said, and you're right. I've been unfair, too controlling, but I can change. Ryan, I love you, Ava. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do, and I'm willing to work on this. On us. He opened the box, the diamond catching the fluorescent light. Marry me. We'll stay in Chicago if you want. I'll turn down Seattle, whatever you need. Ava looked at the ring, at Ryan's desperate face, and felt nothing but sadness. You don't love me, she said quietly. You love the idea of me, the version that doesn't push back or have her own opinions, but that's not who I am. That's not true. It is, and we both know it. Ava took a breath. I'm sorry, Ryan, but my answer is no. His face crumpled, then hardened. It's him, isn't it? The guy from the apartment. This has nothing to do with... Don't lie to me, Ryan's voice rose. I know he got you that apartment. I know you've been seeing him. You think I'm stupid? I think you're looking for someone to blame instead of accepting that we weren't right for each other. We were fine until he showed up. We were never fine. We were just too tired to admit it. Ryan stared at her, anger and hurt warring in his expression. You're making a mistake. He's dangerous, Ava. Do you even know what he does? Who he is? I know enough. You know nothing. Lorenzo De Luca is a criminal. He runs half the illegal operations in this city. And you're so desperate for attention that you can't see it. The words hit like a slap. Ava's hand shook, but she kept her voice steady. Get out. Ava, get out, or I'll call security. Ryan left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Ava sank into a chair, her mind spinning. She knew Lorenzo wasn't clean. He'd told her as much. But hearing it laid out like that, the reality of what she'd gotten involved with, it made her stomach turn. Her phone buzzed. Speaking of, can I see you tonight? Ava stared at the message. She should say no, should create distance before this got any messier. Instead, she typed, my place, 8 o'clock. We need to talk. But Lorenzo arrived exactly at 8, holding takeout containers. I brought Chinese, he said. Figured you might not have eaten. I haven't. Ava let him in, then crossed her arms. Ryan came to the hospital today. Lorenzo's expression went cold. What did he want? To propose again, to tell me you're a criminal, to make me feel stupid for it. She stopped. Is it true? Do you run illegal operations? Yes. No hesitation, no excuses, just honesty. What kind? Gambling, protection, some smuggling, nothing that hurts people directly, but not legal. Lorenzo set down the food. I've never dealt drugs, never trafficked people, never hurt anyone who didn't come at me first, but I'm not going to stand here and pretend I'm a good guy. Ava's chest felt tight. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have let me help you if you'd known? I don't know, maybe not. That's why. Lorenzo moved closer, but didn't touch her. I'm not asking you to be okay with what I do. I'm asking you to decide if you can live with it. That's not fair. None of this is fair, but it's real. His voice softened. I won't lie to you, Ava. Not about who I am or what my life looks like. You deserve honesty, even when it's ugly. Ava turned away, looking out the window at the street below. A month ago, her life had been simple. Miserable, but simple. Now she was standing in an apartment paid for by a criminal, having feelings she had no business having for a man who scared most of Chicago. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. Lorenzo came to stand beside her. I've never cared about someone enough to want to protect them from myself. But here we are. What if this is a mistake? What if I'm just replacing one bad situation with another? Then walk away. Right now. I won't stop you. Ava looked at him. Would you really let me go? If that's what you need. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. I told you I'm patient. I meant it. But I'm not going to trap you. That's not what this is. What is it then? I don't know. Something new. Something I've never had before. He finally reached out, his hand cupping her face gently. All I know is that when I'm with you, I feel less like a monster and more like a man. And I'm not ready to give that up. Ava's breath caught. His thumb brushed her cheek, and the touch was so careful, so deliberate, that it made her chest ache. I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. That means you're smart. Lorenzo smiled slightly. Be terrified. Ask questions. Push back. Just don't disappear on me. Why does this matter so much to you? Because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me and saw possibility instead of profit. Ava closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite every warning bell in her head. This was insane. She barely knew him. He was dangerous, complicated, everything she should run from. But he was also honest, patient. The only person who'd ever asked her what she wanted instead of telling her what she should want. Okay, she whispered. Okay, what? Okay, I'll stay, for now. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. If this gets too dark, if I start losing myself again, you let me go. No guilt, no pressure. You just let me walk away. Lorenzo's hand dropped. I promise. They ate Chinese food on her living room floor, talking about nothing important. Favorite movies, childhood stories, the kind of easy conversation that felt impossible and perfect at once. When Lorenzo left that night, he kissed her forehead at the door. Thank you, he said. For what? For giving me a chance I don't deserve. After he was gone, Ava stood in the doorway, her heart racing, her mind a mess of fear and hope, and something that felt dangerously like falling. Deep. The next week passed in a blur of work and texts that made Ava smile despite herself. Lorenzo didn't push, didn't demand. He just showed up, with coffee when she worked doubles, with groceries when she mentioned her fridge was empty, with patience when she needed space. It was Marissa who finally called her on it. "You're seeing someone," she said during their lunch break. "I'm not. Please. You've been glowing for a week. Who is he?" Ava hesitated. "It's complicated. It's always complicated. Tell me anyway. Remember the guy from my apartment? The one who was shot?" Marissa's eyes widened. "The mystery patient? Ava, no. It's not like that. What's it like?" "I don't know. Ava struggled for words. "He makes me feel seen, like I matter beyond what I can do for him." "That's the bare minimum, babe." "I know. But after Ryan, even the bare minimum feels like everything." Marissa reached across the table, squeezing Ava's hand. "Just be careful, okay? I know you have a hero complex, but you can't save everyone." "I'm not trying to save him." "Aren't you?" The question stuck with Ava for the rest of the day. Was that what this was? Another rescue mission? Another person to fix so she could feel valuable? She was still thinking about it when her phone rang that night. Lorenzo's name on the screen. "Hey," she answered. "I need your help." His voice was strained, tight with pain. Ava sat up. "What's wrong?" "Got into some trouble. Nothing life-threatening, but..." He grunted. "Can you come to this address?" He rattled off a location in a warehouse district. Every instinct told Ava to say no, to call 911 instead, but she grabbed her keys and ran. The warehouse was dark, one light burning in a back office. Ava found Lorenzo sitting on a metal desk, his shirt soaked with blood, applying pressure to his side. "What happened?" she demanded, pulling out the first aid kit she'd started carrying. "Disagreement with a business partner. Got a little physical." "A little?" Ava cut away his shirt. Deep laceration, needed stitches. "You're lucky this didn't hit anything vital." "I'm always lucky when it comes to you." "Don't." Ava threaded the needle with shaking hands. "Don't make jokes right now." She worked in silence, her focus narrowed to the wound, the stitches, keeping him alive. But her mind was screaming. This was the reality of Lorenzo's life: violence, danger, blood on warehouse floors. "Ava," Lorenzo's voice cut through her thoughts. "What?" "You're crying." She was, tears running down her face while she tied off sutures. "I'm fine." "You're not." Ava finished the last stitch and stepped back, wiping her eyes. "I can't do this." Lorenzo went still. "Okay." "Okay? That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say?" He slid off the desk carefully. "You told me if it got too dark, I'd let you go. This is too dark." "I get it." "Stop being so understanding," Ava's voice cracked. "Fight for this. Tell me it'll get better. Give me something." "I won't lie to you. This is my life, Ava. Violence, danger, nights like this. I can't promise it'll get better because I don't know if it will." "Then what am I doing here?" Lorenzo moved closer, his eyes intense. "You're here because, despite everything, you care. Because you see past the blood and the violence to something worth saving. Because you're brave enough to stand in this warehouse at midnight, stitching up a criminal who has no right to your time." "I'm not brave. I'm terrified. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you show up anyway." He reached for her hand. "But if you need to leave, I understand. I'll drive you home, make sure you're safe, and I'll disappear. No guilt, no pressure. Just like I promised." Ava looked at their hands, hers small and shaking, his steady despite the injury. She thought about Ryan, who'd promised her the world but made her feel small. About the 3 years she'd wasted being afraid to want more. About this man who'd never promised her anything except honesty. "I don't want to leave," she whispered. "Are you sure?" "No. But I'm here anyway." Lorenzo pulled her close, careful of his stitches. Ava buried her face against his chest and let herself fall apart, all the fear and confusion and impossible feelings pouring out. "I've got you," Lorenzo murmured into her hair. "I've got you." And for the first time in her life, Ava believed it. They stayed like that for a long time, the warehouse quiet around them. Two broken people holding each other in the dark. When they finally left, Lorenzo drove her home. At her door, he kissed her, soft and careful and full of everything they hadn't said. "Get some sleep," he said. "Lorenzo?" "Yeah?" "This thing we're doing, I need it to mean something. I can't be just another person in your life." "You're not just anything, Ava. You're everything." He said it simply, like it was obvious. "Get some rest. I'll call you tomorrow." Ava watched him drive away, her fingers touching her lips where he'd kissed her. She was falling, had already fallen, and she had no idea if she'd survived the landing. The kiss changed everything and nothing at once. Ava still worked her shifts at the hospital, still came home to her quiet apartment, still tried to build a life that was hers. But now Lorenzo was woven through it all, morning texts, late-night calls, stolen hours between her chaos and his. They didn't define it, didn't put labels on whatever this was becoming. Ava told herself that was safer, easier. But the truth was simpler and more terrifying. She was falling in love with him, and labels wouldn't change that. 2 weeks after the warehouse incident, Lorenzo showed up at the hospital with lunch. "You can't just walk in here," Ava said, but she was smiling. "Why not? I'm visiting a friend." Friends don't bring gourmet sandwiches and look at each other like that. Like what? Like... Ava stopped, heat rising in her cheeks. "Never mind. Come on." They ate in the courtyard, away from curious eyes. Lorenzo had been healing well, no infection, stitches holding. But there was something different about him today. Tension in his shoulders, a guardedness in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Ava asked. "Nothing." "Don't lie to me. We promised honesty, remember?" Lorenzo set down his sandwich. "There's a situation developing, business thing, might get complicated." "Complicated how?" "The kind where people might come looking for leverage." He met her eyes. "The kind where being close to me becomes dangerous." Ava's stomach tightened. "Are you saying we should stop seeing each other?" "I'm saying you should know the risks. I have enemies, Ava. Real ones. And if they find out about you, they'll what? Use me to get to you." "Maybe. Probably." Lorenzo's jaw clenched. "I've been careful. No one knows about this apartment. About us. But careful isn't the same as safe." "So what are you suggesting?" "That you think about whether this is worth it. Whether I'm worth it." Ava reached across the table, taking his hand. "You don't get to make that choice for me. I'm a grown woman. I can decide what risks I'm willing to take. Even if it means getting hurt? I've been hurt before. By people who were supposed to be safe." She squeezed his hand. "At least with you, I know what I'm walking into." "Do you?" Lorenzo's voice was rough. "Do you really understand what my world looks like? It's not just warehouse fights and stitches. It's politics and power plays and people who'd kill you just to prove a point. Then protect me. I'm trying. That's why I'm telling you this." Ava stood, pulling him up with her. "I need to get back to work. But Lorenzo, I'm not going anywhere. So either trust me to handle this or walk away yourself. Those are your options." She left him standing in the courtyard, her heart hammering. She'd never been that direct with anyone, never drawn a line in the sand so clearly, but she was done being treated like something fragile, done having people make decisions for her own good. Her phone buzzed an hour later. "I trust you, and I'm not walking away." Ava smiled despite the anxiety gnawing at her gut. "Good. Neither am I." Quote. 3 days later, Ryan showed up at her apartment. Ava opened the door to find him disheveled, eyes red, smelling like alcohol. "You can't be here," she said. "I need to talk to you." "We have nothing to talk about." "Please, Ava, 5 minutes." Against her better judgment, again, she let him in. But she left the door open, positioning herself near it. "What do you want, Ryan?" "I want you to know I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For taking you for granted, for..." His voice broke. "I lost my job. The Seattle thing fell through. And Cassie, she was just using me. I've got nothing, Ava. Nothing except regret. I'm sorry you're going through that. I really am. But it doesn't change anything between us. I know, Ryan looked around the apartment. "This place is nice, really nice. He's taking care of you." "I'm taking care of myself." "Are you? Or are you just trading one cage for another?" Ryan moved closer. I know guys like Lorenzo DeLuca. They're charming, generous, make you feel special. But it's all control, Ava. Just a different kind. You don't know him. I know his reputation. I know he's dangerous. And I know you're playing with fire because you're too stubborn to admit you made a mistake leaving me. Ava's patience snapped. Get out. Ava, get out, Ryan. Now, before I call the police. He stared at her, anger and hurt warring on his face. Then he laughed, bitter and broken. You'll regret this. When he shows his true colors, when you realize what he really is, you'll regret choosing him over me. Maybe, but at least it'll be my choice, not yours. Ryan left, slamming the door. Ava locked it behind him, her hands shaking. She called Lorenzo. Ryan was here, she said when he answered. Are you okay? His voice went sharp. I'm fine. He was drunk, rambling about how I'm making a mistake. I told him to leave. Did he threaten you? No, just he's falling apart and he wanted me to know it. Ava sank onto her couch. Part of me feels guilty, like I should have been nicer. He came to your home uninvited. You don't owe him nice. I know, it's just... She stopped. He said something about you showing your true colors eventually, like this is all an act. Lorenzo was quiet for a moment. Is that what you think? No, but... Ava struggled for words. I don't really know you, do I? I know pieces. The man who saves kids, who's honest about his flaws, who makes me feel seen. But there's so much I don't know. What do you want to know? Everything. Where you came from, why you do, what you're afraid of. She paused. I want to know who you are when I'm not around. That's a long conversation. I have time. Another pause. Then, tomorrow night, come to my place. I'll tell you everything. After they hung up, Ava sat in the quiet apartment, wondering what she'd just asked for. Part of her was terrified to see behind the curtain, to know the full truth of who Lorenzo DeLuca was. But the bigger part, the part that had been growing since that night in the alley, needed to know. Needed to see all of him before she fell any further. Git. Lorenzo's penthouse was nothing like Ava expected. She'd imagined something ostentatious, marble and gold, the kind of wealth that screamed for attention. Instead, it was understated. Clean lines, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, books everywhere, real ones with worn spines. You read, she said, surprised. Shocking, I know. Lorenzo handed her a glass of wine. Criminals aren't supposed to be literate. That's not what I meant. I know. He gestured to the couch. Sit. I'll order food, and then we'll talk. They ate Thai food straight from the containers, the city glittering below them. When they finished, Lorenzo refilled their wine and settled back. Where do you want me to start? He asked. The beginning. So he told her. He told her about growing up in a neighborhood where survival meant being tougher than the next kid. About a father who drank too much, and a mother who worked 3 jobs to keep them fed. About being 12 years old and watching his father beat his mother so badly she lost hearing in one ear. I tried to stop him, Lorenzo said quietly. Got knocked out for my trouble. When I woke up, she was gone. Just left. Didn't take me with her. Lorenzo, I don't blame her. She had to save herself. I understand that now. He stared into his wine. But at 12, all I understood was that everyone leaves. Everyone gives up. So I stopped relying on anyone. He told her about falling in with the wrong crowd because they were the only people who offered protection. About doing small jobs, lookout work, deliveries, that turned into bigger ones. About realizing he was good at reading people, at negotiating, at knowing when to push and when to back off. By 18, I was running my own crew. By 25, I'd taken over territory from men twice my age. Lorenzo looked at her. I'm not proud of what I did to get here. I hurt people, destroyed lives, became exactly what I hated as a kid. Why tell me this? Ava asked softly. Because you asked, and because you deserve to know what you're getting into. He set down his glass. I'm trying to be better, to use what I've built for something other than just power and money. But I can't erase the past. It's part of who I am. Ava was quiet, processing. She thought about the man who'd saved children from a burning building, who'd been honest about his flaws, who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "What are you afraid of?" she asked. Lorenzo's expression shifted. Surprise, then something vulnerable. "Becoming my father. Hurting someone I care about the way he hurt my mother." He met her eyes. "Losing you because I'm not good enough to deserve you." Ava's chest ached. She set down her own glass and moved closer, taking his hands. "You're not your father." "How do you know?" "Because your father wouldn't have told me any of this, wouldn't have warned me about the risks, wouldn't have given me a choice." She squeezed his hands. "You're not perfect, Lorenzo, but you're trying. That's more than most people do. You see the best in everyone." "No, I see people for who they are and decide if that's enough." Ava leaned closer. "You're enough." Lorenzo pulled her into his lap, his hands framing her face. "You're too good for this. For me. Stop deciding what's good for me. Someone has to. Not you. Not anyone except me." Ava kissed him, soft and deliberate. "I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Messy past and all." They stayed like that for a long time, the city lights flickering beyond the windows, two people who'd survived the worst and found each other anyway. When Ava finally left that night, Lorenzo walked her to her car, kissed her like he was memorizing the taste of her, and made her promise to text when she got home safe. She did, adding, "Thank you for trusting me with your story." His response came immediately. "Thank you for not running." The peace lasted exactly 4 days. Ava was leaving the hospital after a night shift when she noticed the car. Black SUV, tinted windows, idling across the street. She told herself she was being paranoid, that Lorenzo's warnings had made her jumpy. Then it followed her. 3 turns, 2 red lights. Still there. Ava's hands tightened on the wheel. She pulled out her phone, calling Lorenzo. "Someone's following me." "Where are you?" His voice went deadly calm. 2 blocks from my apartment. Black SUV, no plates visible. "Do not go home. Drive to the police station on 5th. I'll meet you there." "Lorenzo, trust me. Go now." Ava took the next turn toward the station, her heart hammering. The SUV followed for another block, then peeled off. She made it to the station parking lot, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. 5 minutes later, Lorenzo pulled up with 2 other cars. His security, Ava realized. He was out of his car before it fully stopped, pulling her into his arms. "You're okay," he said, more to himself than her. "You're okay." "What's happening?" Lorenzo's jaw was tight. "The situation I mentioned. It's escalating. Someone's making a move and they're using you to get my attention." "Who?" "Rival organization. They want my territory and they think you're leverage." He pulled back, his eyes fierce. "I'm getting you somewhere safe. Tonight." "I'm not leaving my life." "You are. Until this is resolved." Lorenzo's voice brooked no argument. "I have a property outside the city. Secure, private. You'll stay there with protection until what? Until you handle it? Until someone gets hurt?" Ava's voice rose. "I'm not running, Lorenzo. You don't have a choice." "Yes, I do, and I'm choosing to stay." They stared at each other, the standoff crackling between them. "If something happens to you because of me," Lorenzo's voice cracked, "I won't survive that, Ava." "Then make sure nothing happens. But don't lock me away like I'm some fragile thing that needs protecting." Ava grabbed his jacket. "I stayed. Through all of it, I stayed. Don't punish me for that now." Lorenzo closed his eyes, his forehead dropping to hers. "You're going to be the death of me." "Not if we're smart about this." He made a sound between a laugh and a groan. "Fine. But you don't go anywhere alone. My guys will shadow you. Don't argue," he said when she opened her mouth. "This is non-negotiable." "Okay." "And you move back into my place just until this blows over." "Lorenzo, I can protect you better if you're close. Please, Ava." She'd never heard him say please before. The word cracked something in her chest. "Okay," she said again. They went back to her apartment to pack a bag. Lorenzo's security swept the place first, checking for bugs or cameras. Clear. Ava threw clothes into a duffel, trying not to think about how fast everything was moving. A month ago, she'd been living with Ryan, miserable but safe. Now she was packing to move in with a man whose enemies were using her as bait. Second thoughts? Lorenzo asked from the doorway. About 100 of them. Want to back out? Ava zipped the bag. No, but I want you to promise me something. What? When this is over, however it ends, you tell me the truth. No protecting my feelings, no softening the blow, just honesty. Lorenzo crossed to her, taking the bag from her hands. I promise. They left the apartment together, Ava's entire life reduced to one duffel bag and the man beside her. Living with Lorenzo was different than Ava expected. He gave her space, never pushed, treated her like a roommate more than anything else. Separate bedrooms, separate schedules. The only concession was his insistence that security check in every few hours. A week passed, then 2. The tension eased incrementally, Ava and Lorenzo falling into a rhythm. Coffee in the morning, dinner when their schedules aligned, late nights on the couch watching terrible movies. It felt domestic, normal, like maybe they could actually build something real. Then Ava's phone rang at 3 in the morning. This is Chicago Memorial. There's been an accident. Your friend Marissa. Ava didn't hear the rest. She was already moving, throwing on clothes, shaking Lorenzo awake. I have to go. Marissa's hurt. Lorenzo was up immediately. I'll drive you. They made it to the hospital in record time. Marissa was in surgery, car accident, drunk driver, internal bleeding. The doctors wouldn't tell Ava more because she wasn't family. She paced the waiting room, Lorenzo a solid presence beside her. She's going to be okay, he said. You don't know that. No, but I know she's tough, like you. 4 hours later, a doctor emerged. Marissa was stable, broken ribs, ruptured spleen, but she'd live. Ava sagged with relief. Lorenzo caught her, holding her steady. Can I see her? Ava asked. She's in recovery. Give it an hour. They sat in uncomfortable plastic chairs, Ava's head on Lorenzo's shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. For what? Being here. Not trying to fix it. Just being here. Lorenzo kissed her temple. Always. When Ava finally got in to see Marissa, her friend looked small and pale against the white sheets. Hey, Marissa croaked. Hey yourself. Ava took her hand carefully. You scared me. Scared myself. Some idiot ran a red light. Marissa's eyes focused on Ava. You look different. It's 3 in the morning. Everyone looks different. No, you look happy, settled. Marissa squeezed her hand weakly. It's him, isn't it? The mystery guy? Ava nodded. Good. You deserve someone who shows up at 3 a.m. He's waiting outside. Then go. I'm just going to sleep anyway. Marissa's eyes were already closing. But Ava, be careful. I know you're happy, but just be careful. I will. Ava left as Marissa drifted off, finding Lorenzo exactly where she'd left him. She okay? He asked. She will be. Ava leaned into him. Can we go home? Yeah, let's go home. Home. When had his place become home? They drove through empty streets, the city quiet in the pre-dawn hours. At a stoplight, Lorenzo reached over and took her hand. I love you, he said. Just like that. Simple and devastating. Ava's breath caught. What? I love you. I need you to know that before... He stopped. Before what? The light turned green. Lorenzo drove, his jaw tight. Lorenzo, before what? This situation with my rivals, it's coming to a head. There's going to be a confrontation and I need to handle it. When? Soon, maybe this week. Ava's stomach dropped. What kind of confrontation? The kind where someone doesn't walk away. Lorenzo pulled into the garage of his building. I'm telling you this because I promised honesty, and because I need you to know that whatever happens, you changed my life, made me want to be better. Don't talk like you're not coming back. I'm being realistic. No, you're being fatalistic. Ava turned to face him fully. You don't get to tell me you love me and then... Lorenzo kissed her, hard and desperate and full of everything they'd been dancing around for weeks. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm coming back, he said. I promise. But just in case, I needed you to know. I love you too, Ava whispered, and you better keep that promise. They went upstairs together, and this time when Lorenzo walked her to her room, Ava pulled him inside. Stay, she said. Ava, I'm not asking for anything except this. Just stay with me tonight. So he did. They lay in the dark, fully clothed, wrapped around each other. Lorenzo's heartbeat steady under Ava's ear, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. Tell me something true, she murmured. Like what? Anything. Something you've never told anyone. Lorenzo was quiet for so long Ava thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, I used to think I was incapable of loving anyone. That my father beat it out of me, or my mother abandoned it, or I just never had it to begin with. His arms tightened around her. But then you showed up, and suddenly I understood. I was capable. I just never met anyone worth the risk. Ava's eyes burned. I'm worth the risk? You're worth everything. She kissed him then, soft and slow, pouring every unspoken feeling into it. This wasn't about sex or possession or any of the things she'd feared. This was about two people who'd survived the worst and found something worth fighting for. When they finally fell asleep, tangled together, Ava felt safer than she had in years. She shouldn't have. Because 3 days later, everything fell apart. Ava woke to an empty bed and the smell of coffee. She found Lorenzo in the kitchen, already dressed, phone pressed to his ear. His expression was granite. Understood. I'll be there in 20. He hung up, then noticed her. Morning? What's wrong? They made their move, took out one of my warehouses last night, sent a message. Lorenzo poured her coffee, his movements precise and controlled. This ends today. Ava's stomach nodded. What does that mean? It means I have a meeting, neutral ground, both sides. We settle this. That sounds like a trap. Probably is. Lorenzo handed her the mug. But I can't keep living like this, looking over my shoulder, worrying about you every second. It ends today one way or another. Let me come with you. Absolutely not. Lorenzo, no. His voice was steel. You stay here. Marco and his team will be outside. You don't leave this apartment until you hear from me directly. And if I don't hear from you? Lorenzo cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. You will. I promised I'd come back, remember? He kissed her, deep and thorough and tinged with goodbye. Then he was gone. Ava stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling in her hands, trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. The hours crawled by. Ava tried to distract herself. TV, books, reorganizing Lorenzo's already organized kitchen. Nothing worked. Her mind kept spinning worst-case scenarios, each one worse than the last. At noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ava Carter? A woman's voice, professional and cold. Who is this? My name is Victoria Chen. I'm an attorney representing certain business interests in Chicago. I need to speak with you about Lorenzo DeLuca. Ava's grip tightened on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't insult my intelligence. You've been living with Mr. DeLuca for 2 weeks. You're emotionally involved, which makes you relevant to my client's interests. What do you want? To offer you an exit strategy. My clients are willing to provide protection, relocation, financial support, whatever you need to separate yourself from Mr. DeLuca's complications. Why would I do that? Because the meeting happening right now? It's not a negotiation, it's an execution. Victoria's voice softened slightly. My clients don't want civilian casualties. But if you stay entangled with Lorenzo, you become collateral damage. This is your chance to walk away. Ava's heart hammered. You're lying. This is some kind of manipulation. Think about it logically. A man in Lorenzo's position, with his enemies, his history. Do you really believe this has a happy ending? Or are you just another woman who thinks her love can save a dangerous man? The words hit like a physical blow, because part of Ava had thought exactly that, had believed that somehow her presence in Lorenzo's life would be enough to keep him safe, to make him choose differently. I need proof, Ava said, that this meeting is what you say it is. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Check your email. I'm sending you something. Look at it, then decide. The call ended. Ava's hands shook as she opened her email. A video file, time-stamped 30 minutes ago. She pressed play. The footage was grainy, shot from a distance, but she could make out Lorenzo walking into a warehouse, flanked by his security. Three men waited inside, older, hard-faced, radiating menace. The audio was poor, but Ava caught fragments. Should have known better than to challenge us. Give you one chance to walk away from this city, or we eliminate the problem permanently. Lorenzo's response was too quiet to hear, but his body language was clear. He wasn't backing down. One of the men pulled a gun. The video cut off. Ava's breath came in short gasps. This couldn't be real. Victoria was playing her, trying to scare her into abandoning Lorenzo when he needed her most. But what if it wasn't a game? What if Lorenzo was walking into his death right now, and Ava was sitting in his apartment doing nothing? She grabbed her phone, calling the one person who might have answers. Ava? Marco, Lorenzo's head of security, answered immediately. You okay? Where's Lorenzo? What's happening? He's handling business. I can't give you details. Is he in danger? Marco hesitated. That hesitation told Ava everything. I'm coming down there, she said. No, Lorenzo's orders were clear. You stay put. I don't take orders from Lorenzo. Tell me where he is. Ava, don't do this. If you show up, you'll only make things worse. Then tell me he's safe. Promise me he's not walking into a trap and I'll stay here. Another pause. I can't promise that. Ava hung up and grabbed her keys. She made it to the elevator before Marco appeared, blocking her path. Move, Ava said. Can't do that. I'm not asking. Get out of my way, or I'll find another way down. Marco studied her face, then sighed. You're as stubborn as he is. Fine. But I'm coming with you, and you do exactly what I say. Deal? Deal? They took Marco's car, driving fast through Chicago's streets. He wouldn't tell her exactly where they were going, just kept muttering about how Lorenzo was going to kill him. How bad is it? Ava asked. Bad. The Castellano family's been circling for months, waiting for weakness. They think Lorenzo's lost his edge, gone soft. Marco glanced at her. They're not entirely wrong. What's that supposed to mean? Means Lorenzo used to handle threats immediately. No hesitation, no mercy. But since you came into the picture, he's been different, more cautious, more human. Marco's voice was matter-of-fact. In this world, human gets you killed. They pulled up to an industrial complex on the south side. Abandoned factories, broken windows, the kind of place where bad things happened and no one asked questions. Stay in the car, Marco said. Not a chance. Ava, you promised I could come. I'm here. Now either take me inside or I'll find my own way. Marco cursed in what sounded like Italian, then pulled out his phone. A brief, heated conversation later, he turned to Ava. Lorenzo says if I let you in there, he'll shoot me himself. But if I try to stop you, you'll probably get yourself killed trying anyway. He handed her a vest, Kevlar, heavy and foreign. Put this on. Stay behind me. And if things go bad, you run. Understand? Ava put on the vest with shaking hands. They entered through a side door, Marco moving with practiced silence. Voices echoed from deeper in the warehouse, angry, sharp. Ava's heart hammered against the Kevlar. They rounded a corner and Ava saw them. Lorenzo stood in the center of an open space, 5 of his men behind him. Facing them were 7 men she didn't recognize, older, colder, carrying weapons they weren't bothering to hide. You're making a mistake, Lorenzo said, his voice carrying. This city is big enough for both our operations. Was big enough, the man in the center said. Silver hair, cruel smile. Until you started playing house with that little nurse. Makes you weak, DeLuca. Predictable. Lorenzo's expression didn't change, but Ava saw his hands clench. Leave her out of this. Why? She's the perfect leverage. You think we don't know where she is right now? One phone call and you touch her, and I'll burn your entire organization to the ground. The silver-haired man laughed. See? That's exactly what I mean. The old Lorenzo would have already made a move, but now you're too busy protecting some nobody who... Ava stepped out from behind Marco. Ava, no! Marco grabbed for her, but she was already moving. Every head turned. Lorenzo's face went white. I'm the nobody, Ava said, her voice steadier than she felt. So maybe you should be talking to me instead of about me. Ava, get out of here. Lorenzo's voice was raw. Now. No. She walked closer, ignoring Marco's horrified cursing behind her. You want leverage? Here I am. Let's talk. The silver-haired man studied her with interest. Brave. Stupid, but brave. He pulled his gun, aiming it casually at Ava's chest. Here's the thing, sweetheart. You're not leverage. You're a message. Everything happened at once. Lorenzo lunged forward. The silver-haired man's finger tightened on the trigger. Marco shouted something Ava couldn't process. Then the gunshot. Deafening. Final. But Ava didn't fall. Lorenzo did. He'd thrown himself in front of her, taking the bullet meant for her chest. It caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He went down hard. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Lorenzo's men returned fire. The Castellanos scattered. Ava dropped to her knees beside Lorenzo, hands already pressing against the wound. "You idiot," she sobbed. "You absolute idiot." Lorenzo's laugh was pained. "Not the first time you've said that. Why did you do that?" "You know why." He gripped her hand. "Get out of here. Marco, I'm not leaving you." "Ava, please." More gunfire. Marco appeared, hauling both of them toward cover. Ava kept pressure on Lorenzo's wound, her medical training kicking in despite her terror. Entry wound, no exit, bullet still lodged. He was losing blood fast. "We need to get him to a hospital," she said. "Can't, too many questions." Marco was on his phone barking orders. "I've got a doctor on call, private clinic, 10 minutes out." The gunfire stopped. Through the ringing in her ears, Ava heard police sirens approaching. Marco cursed. "Someone called the cops. We need to move now." They got Lorenzo to the car, Ava climbing in back with him, keeping pressure on the wound. His face was gray, lips bloodless. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Don't you dare leave me now. Not going anywhere." His voice was weak. "Made a promise." The clinic was a nondescript building in a residential neighborhood. The doctor, an older woman who asked no questions, got Lorenzo stabilized quickly, extracting the bullet with efficient precision. "He'll live," she said to Ava. "Missed the major arteries. He's lucky." "Can I see him?" "He's asking for you." Lorenzo looked terrible, pale, hooked up to IVs, a bandage covering half his shoulder. But when he saw Ava, he smiled. "You're supposed to be at home," he said, "and you're supposed to not get shot." "Fair point." He reached for her hand. "I'm sorry for putting you through that." "Don't apologize. Just don't do it again." Ava's voice cracked. "I can't lose you, Lorenzo. I just found you. You're not losing me. I'm too stubborn to die." "You better be." Marco appeared in the doorway. "We've got a problem. The cops are asking questions about the warehouse. Multiple shooters, shell casings everywhere. They're going to want to talk to Lorenzo." "Not happening," the doctor said. "My patient needs rest, not interrogation." "They'll get a warrant." Lorenzo closed his eyes. "Let them come. I'm done running, done hiding." He looked at Marco. "Call my lawyer. Tell him to arrange immunity in exchange for testimony. Everything I know about the Castellanos, their operations, all of it." "Boss, if you do that, I'm out. Completely out." Lorenzo's voice was firm. "No more violence, no more looking over my shoulder. I'm choosing a different life." Marco stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. "I'll make the call." After he left, Ava climbed carefully onto the bed beside Lorenzo. "You're really doing this?" she asked. "Walking away from everything you built?" "It's not everything, it's just business." Lorenzo pulled her closer with his good arm. "You're everything, and I almost lost you today because I was too proud to admit when the fight wasn't worth winning. The Castellanos will go down. With my testimony, the feds will have enough to dismantle their entire operation." He pressed his lips to her forehead. "It's over, Ava. Really over. What happens to you if you testify?" "Immunity deal, probably witness protection for a while. New identities, new city." Lorenzo looked at her seriously. "I understand if that's too much. If you want to walk away from this mess." Ava thought about it. About leaving her job, her friends, everything familiar. About starting over in a strange city with a man who'd just blown up his entire criminal empire. It should have been terrifying, and it was. But it was also the most honest choice anyone had ever offered her. "Where are we going?" she asked. Lorenzo's eyes widened. "You're coming with me?" "Of course I'm coming with you. Did you really think I'd stay behind?" I don't know what I thought." His voice was rough. "You'd really give up your life here for me?" "I'm not giving up my life. I'm choosing a different one." Ava took his hand. "With you, wherever that leads." Lorenzo pulled her into a kiss that tasted like relief and promise and the future they'd almost lost. Over the next 3 weeks, everything changed. Lorenzo met with federal prosecutors, laying out years of criminal activity in exchange for immunity. The Castellanos were arrested, 7 members of their organization, including the silver-haired man who'd tried to kill Ava. Ryan called once, leaving a voicemail that Ava deleted without listening to. That chapter was closed. Marissa cried when Ava told her about the move, but she understood. "You've got that look," she said, "the one people get when they've finally figured out what they want. Don't lose it." The FBI set them up in a small coastal town in Oregon. New names, new backgrounds, a house overlooking the ocean. Lorenzo became Lucas Martin, a businessman who'd sold his company and retired early. Ava became Emma, a nurse starting over after a bad breakup. The lies came easier than Ava expected. Maybe because beneath them was something true. 2 people building a life together, learning who they were when nothing else defined them. On their first morning in the new house, Ava stood on the deck watching waves crash against rocks. Lorenzo came up behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know yet. Ask me in a month." "Fair enough." He rested his chin on her shoulder. "Thank you for choosing this, for choosing me. Thank you for letting me." Ava turned in his arms. "For not making the choice for me, for trusting that I could handle the truth. You're the strongest person I know. I'm terrified. Strength isn't not being scared, it's being scared and doing it anyway." Lorenzo smiled. "Someone smart told me that once. Sounds like a wise person." "She is. Stubborn as hell, but wise." They stood there as the sun rose higher, 2 people with new names and old scars, figuring out how to build something real from the wreckage of who they used to be. Ava got a job at the local hospital, night shifts in the ER, familiar work in an unfamiliar place. Lorenzo consulted for legitimate businesses, using his strategic mind for things that wouldn't land him in prison. It was quiet, normal, almost boring. It was exactly what they needed. 3 months into their new life, Ava came home to find Lorenzo cooking dinner. Actual cooking, not just heating up takeout. "This is suspicious," she said. "I'm expanding my skill set." "Is it edible?" "Probably not, but I'm trying." They ate burned chicken and overcooked pasta, laughing at the disaster of it. Ava couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like this, free, easy, uncomplicated by fear. "I need to tell you something," Lorenzo said, setting down his fork. Ava's stomach tightened. "What?" "The FBI called. The trial for the Castellanos starts next month. They need me to testify." "Okay." "It means going back to Chicago, being in the same room with them, reliving all of it." Lorenzo's jaw tightened. "I don't want to do it, but I have to. Then we'll do it together. You can't come to the trial. Witness protection rules. Then I'll be in Chicago, in a hotel room, waiting for you. You don't have to face this alone." Lorenzo reached across the table, taking her hand. "I don't deserve you." "Stop saying that. You're stuck with me, deserve or not." The trial was brutal. 3 weeks of testimony, of facing men who wanted him dead, of admitting to crimes Ava didn't want to think about. Lorenzo came back to the hotel each night exhausted, haunted by memories he'd tried to bury. But Ava was there, every night, listening when he needed to talk, holding him when words weren't enough, reminding him that the past didn't define the future. On the final day, the jury came back with guilty verdicts across the board. The Castellanos would spend the rest of their lives in prison. It was over. Really, truly over. They flew back to Oregon the next day. At the airport, Lorenzo stopped, pulling Ava into an empty corner. "Marry me," he said. Ava blinked. "What?" "Right now. Or as soon as we get back. I don't want to wait anymore." Lorenzo cupped her face. "I've spent my whole life planning, strategizing, waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment is now. It's you. It's us, standing here after everything we've survived, still choosing each other." "Lorenzo, I know we can't have a big wedding. I know our families can't be there, that we'll be signing fake names on the certificate. But I don't care." His voice was fierce. "I want to marry you. Today, tomorrow, next week. Whenever you say yes." Ava's eyes filled. Yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Today? Tomorrow. Whenever. She kissed him. I'd marry you right now if we could. They couldn't quite manage right now, but they managed close. 2 days later, in a small chapel overlooking the ocean, Ava Carter, who was now Emma Martin, married Lorenzo De Luca, who was now Lucas Martin. Marco flew in as their witness, along with the doctor who'd saved Lorenzo's life. Marissa came too, sworn to secrecy about the location. The ceremony was simple. No flowers, no music, just two people promising to choose each other every day for the rest of their lives. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Lorenzo pulled Ava close and whispered, "Thank you for saving my life." "Thank you for saving mine," she whispered back. The kiss tasted like salt air and new beginnings. At the tiny reception, just the five of them, and cheap champagne, Marissa pulled Ava aside. "You look happy," she said. "Like really, genuinely happy." "I am. Terrified, but happy." "Good. That's how it should be." Marissa hugged her tight. "Don't be a stranger, okay? I know you're in witness protection or whatever, but find a way to stay in touch." "I will. I promise." After everyone left, Ava and Lorenzo sat on their deck watching the sun set over the ocean. "Mrs. Martin," Lorenzo said, testing out the name. "Mr. Martin," Ava replied. "It's strange, having a different name, a different life. Do you miss it, your old life?" Lorenzo thought about it. "I miss the certainty of it, knowing who I was, what I was good at, but I don't miss the violence, the constant watching over my shoulder, the person I had to be to survive." "Who are you now?" "I don't know yet, still figuring it out." He pulled her closer. "But whoever I am, I know I want to be someone you're proud of." "I'm already proud of you. You walked away from everything to build something better. That takes more courage than staying ever would." They sat in comfortable silence, the waves providing a steady rhythm. Ava thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, exhausted, invisible, living a half-life because she'd been too afraid to want more. That woman felt like a stranger now. "What are you thinking?" Lorenzo asked. "That a year ago I was so lost. I didn't even know how lost I was until I found you." "I was lost too. I just didn't realize it because I was so busy surviving. And now I'm found." Lorenzo kissed her temple. "We both are." 6 months later, Ava realized she was pregnant. She took 3 tests, not believing the first 2. Then she sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the positive results, trying to process what it meant. A baby. She and Lorenzo were having a baby. Terror hit first. They were in witness protection, living under fake names, building a life on a foundation of lies. How could they bring a child into this? But underneath the fear was something else. Hope. Joy. The possibility of creating something purely theirs, untainted by their pasts. She told Lorenzo that night over dinner. "I'm pregnant," she said. No preamble. Lorenzo froze, fork halfway to his mouth. We're having a baby. I found out this morning." He set down the fork carefully, his hands shaking. "How do you feel about that?" "Scared, happy, overwhelmed, all of it at once." Ava watched his face. "How do you feel?" Lorenzo stood, moving around the table to kneel beside her chair. He placed his hand on her still flat stomach, his expression a mix of wonder and fear. "I never thought I'd have this," he said quietly. "A family, a real family, built on something other than survival. Are you okay with it?" "Okay? Ava, His voice cracked. "I'm terrified. I have no idea how to be a father. What if I screw this up? What if I'm like my dad?" "You won't be. You're nothing like him." "How do you know?" "Because you're sitting here worrying about it. Because you care. Because you're already thinking about what kind of father you want to be." Ava took his hand. "We'll figure it out together, like we figure out everything else." Lorenzo pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear. "I love you. Both of you. We love you too." The pregnancy wasn't easy. Ava had morning sickness that lasted all day. Her feet swelled, her back ached constantly. But Lorenzo was there through all of it, holding her hair, rubbing her feet, assembling a crib at 2 in the morning because Ava had a panic attack about not being ready. They took childbirth classes under their fake names, making friends with other expectant parents who knew nothing about their real lives. It should have felt dishonest, but instead it felt freeing. These people saw them as Lucas and Emma, a normal couple expecting their first child. No violence, no criminal history, just two people in love. 8.5 months into the pregnancy, Ava woke up at 3 in the morning with contractions. Lorenzo drove her to the hospital, holding her hand through every contraction, whispering reassurances that she barely heard over her own screaming. 14 hours later, their daughter was born. They named her Sophia, not after anyone, just a name they both loved. A name with no history, no baggage, just possibility. Lorenzo held her for the first time and cried, actual tears streaming down his face as he stared at this tiny person they'd created. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She's wrinkly and purple," Ava said, exhausted but smiling. "Perfect," Lorenzo insisted. He looked at Ava, his eyes full. "Thank you. For this. For her. For everything. We made her together. That's how this works." They brought Sophia home 3 days later to a house they'd filled with hope and secondhand furniture. That first night, Ava woke to find Lorenzo standing over the crib, just watching their daughter sleep. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Making sure she's real, that this is real." Ava joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "It's real. We're real. This life we built, it's ours. I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for someone to find us, for the past to catch up. It might, but we'll handle it, together." Lorenzo turned, pulling her close. "I never knew I could be this happy. It scares me how much I have to lose." "Then don't lose it. Fight for it every day. Choose us every day." "I will. I promise." They stood there in the dark, watching their daughter sleep. Two people who'd survived the worst and built something beautiful from the ashes. Sophia grew. She learned to crawl, to walk, to say mama and dada in her sweet, high voice. Lorenzo was a natural father, patient, present, making silly faces until she laughed. He read to her every night, taught her to swim in the ocean, carried her on his shoulders through the farmer's market. Ava watched him with their daughter and fell in love all over again. This version of Lorenzo, gentle, playful, wholly devoted, was the man he'd always been underneath the violence and survival. He just needed safety to become him. On Sophia's second birthday, they had a small party on the beach. Marco flew in, along with Marissa and her new boyfriend. They sang off key, ate too much cake, watched Sophia dig in the sand with pure joy on her face. After everyone left, after Sophia was in bed, Ava and Lorenzo sat on the deck with wine, exhausted and content. "Do you ever regret it?" Lorenzo asked. "Leaving your old life behind?" Ava thought about it, about the job she'd loved, the city she'd known, the version of herself she'd been. "No," she said, "that life was never really mine. I was just living it because I didn't know I had options. And this life? This life is mine, ours. We chose it, built it, fought for it." She took his hand. "No regrets." Not even the witness protection part? The fake names, the constant awareness that we can't fully relax? Even that. Because it means we're safe. It means Sophia gets to grow up without violence, without fear. That's worth any inconvenience. Lorenzo squeezed her hand. "I don't tell you enough how grateful I am. For you, for Sophia, for this life you helped me build. You don't have to tell me. I see it every day. And how you are with Sophia, with me, with this life we're living." They sat in comfortable silence, the ocean providing its steady rhythm. Somewhere in the house, Sophia made a small sound in her sleep. Both of them tensed, listening, but she settled without waking. "She's getting so big," Lorenzo said. "I know. Sometimes I look at her and can't believe we made this whole person." "Best thing I've ever made? Better than your criminal empire?" Lorenzo laughed. "Significantly better, and legal, which is a nice change." As the sun set, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, Ava thought about how far they'd come. From that alley in Chicago to this quiet life in Oregon. From two broken people surviving separately to a family thriving together. It hadn't been easy. There had been moments of doubt, of fear, of wondering if they'd made the right choice. But looking at Lorenzo, at the life they'd built, At their daughter sleeping peacefully inside, Ava knew they had. Love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about safety or certainty or knowing how everything would turn out. Love was about choosing each other even when it was terrifying, about building something real from broken pieces, about showing up every day and saying, "This matters, you matter, we matter." Ava had spent years being invisible, being small, being someone she thought she should be. But Lorenzo had seen her, really seen her, and that had changed everything. She'd saved his life in that alley. But he'd saved hers, too. By showing her what it meant to be brave enough to want more, to fight for more, to believe she deserved more. "What are you thinking?" Lorenzo asked, pulling her closer. "That I'm glad I stopped in that alley, glad I stayed when I should have run, glad I chose you." "Best decision you ever made?" Ava smiled, leaning into him. "Best decision we both made. You chose to live, I chose to save you. Everything else just followed." "Think we'd do it again? If we knew how hard it would be?" "Every single time," Ava said without hesitation. "Every time I'd choose you. Choose us. Choose this life." Lorenzo kissed her as the sun disappeared below the horizon, and Ava understood something fundamental about love and courage and the life you build when you're brave enough to claim it. Sometimes the scariest choice is the one that saves you. Sometimes you have to walk through fire to find the life you're meant to live. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you find someone who sees you at your worst and chooses to stay anyway. Not because they're trying to fix you, not because they need you, but because together, you're both more than you could ever be apart. That was love. Messy, complicated, terrifying, real love. And it was worth every risk Ava had taken to find it. Inside, Sophia stirred and called out softly. Ava and Lorenzo went to her together, lifting their daughter from her crib, holding her between them. This was their family. Imperfect, built on lies that protected a deeper truth, held together by choices they made new every single day. It was everything Ava had never known she wanted, and she would spend the rest of her life grateful she'd been brave enough to choose it.